Commander Elena Vasquez stared at the screen in disbelief. After decades of searching for alien life, the signal had finally come. But this was not the peaceful greeting humanity had hoped for. The message arrived at Kepler 442b, research station at exactly 1432, Earth Standard Time. Elena had been reviewing supply reports when Lieutenant Davis burst into her office, his face pale with excitement and fear. "Commander, you need to see this," he said, his voice shaking. "We've received a transmission. It's not from Earth." Elena followed Davis to the communications bay where the entire crew had gathered around the main display. The signal was unlike anything they had ever seen. It pulsed with strange harmonies and frequencies that seemed to change color as they moved across the screen. "How long has it been transmitting?" Elena asked. 17 minutes, replied Dr. Sarah Chen, the station's lead scientist. "The signal is artificial, no doubt about it." "And Commander, it's directed specifically at us." Elena felt her heart race. First contact. This was the moment humanity had dreamed of for centuries. She straightened her uniform and cleared her throat. "Can we decode it?" "We're trying," Chen said, her fingers flying over the controls. "The pattern is complex, but there seems to be a mathematical base. Wait, I think I've got something." The harmonious sound suddenly shifted, becoming more mechanical. Then, to everyone's amazement, words began to form in clear English. "Greetings, species designation human. We are the Zephyrian Collective. This message serves as official notification of containment protocols." Elena exchanged glances with her crew. Containment protocols? This did not sound like the friendly hello they had expected. The voice continued, cold and precise. "Your species has been observed and analyzed. You are classified as a viral organism with dangerous expansion tendencies. Your rapid technological advancement and aggressive nature pose a threat to galactic stability." "Viral organism?" Lieutenant Davis whispered. "They're calling us a disease." Elena raised her hand for silence as the message continued. "Evidence of your threatening nature includes excessive warfare among your own kind, destruction of your home planet's environment, and uncontrolled population growth. Your recent expansion beyond your solar system confirms our assessment." The display showed images that made Elena's blood run cold. Pictures of Earth from space showing human cities, wars, and pollution. Videos of human space missions, including the very station they were on. The aliens had been watching them for a long time. By order of the Collective Council, consisting of the Zephyrian Harmonic Union, the Valorian Hive Clusters, the Ethereal Cortani, and the Lithoid Architects, humanity must cease all expansion beyond your solar system immediately. Elena stepped forward. "This is Commander Elena Vasquez of the Earth Defense Force. We receive your message and request immediate dialogue to discuss this situation." There was a pause. Then the alien voice responded, surprising everyone with its immediate reply. "Commander Vasquez, we have monitored your communications. Dialogue is permitted, but our decision is final. You have one solar rotation to comply with containment protocols." "What exactly are these containment protocols?" Elena asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "A barrier will be constructed around your solar system. No human vessel will be permitted to leave. No communication will escape. Your species will be contained until the Collective determines a permanent solution." Dr. Chen stepped beside Elena. "May I ask what you mean by permanent solution?" "That is yet to be determined. Your species shows signs of extreme adaptability and unpredictability. These traits make you dangerous to the ordered civilizations of this galaxy. The Collective has dealt with such species before." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. And what happened to those other species? They were relocated to suitable environments where they could no longer threaten galactic stability. The meaning was clear. Humanity was being treated like a dangerous animal that needed to be caged or removed entirely. "You don't understand us," Elena said, her voice growing stronger. "Yes, we've had wars. Yes, we've made mistakes with our environment, but we've also created art, music, and literature. We've shown compassion and love. We've worked together to solve problems and explore the stars, not to conquer but to learn." "Your emotional appeals are noted but irrelevant," the alien voice replied. "Our analysis is based on observable behavior patterns. Your species shows consistent aggressive expansion, resource depletion, and internal conflict. These patterns indicate a high probability of future galactic destabilization." Elena tried a different approach. "What if we could prove to you that we're not a threat? What if we could show you examples of human cooperation and peaceful development? Your recent history provides insufficient evidence of peaceful intent. Your expansion into space, while technologically impressive, follows the same pattern of rapid consumption and territorial acquisition observed on your homeworld. Lieutenant Davis whispered to Elena.
Commander, should we alert Earth Command?
Elena nodded slightly, then addressed the aliens again. We request more time to present our case. Surely a decision of this magnitude deserves careful consideration. The collective has observed your species for 47 of your years. Our analysis is complete. You have one solar rotation to recall all human vessels to your solar system and cease expansion activities. Dr. Chen leaned forward. How did you learn our language so quickly? We have studied your electromagnetic transmissions for decades. Your languages, customs, and behavioral patterns are well documented in our databases. This knowledge confirms our assessment of your species as chaotic and unpredictable. Elena realized they were facing beings who had already made up their minds. Everything humanity thought made them special, their creativity, their diversity, their ability to overcome challenges, was being seen as evidence of their dangerous nature. What about our colonies? Elena asked. We have research stations and settlements beyond our solar system. These are peaceful scientific outposts. All human presence beyond your solar system will be removed. Your colonists will be relocated to observation facilities for study. They will not be harmed if they comply with relocation orders. You're talking about kidnapping thousands of people. We are talking about preventing a galactic catastrophe. Your species' pattern of behavior suggests that unrestricted expansion would result in significant conflict with established civilizations. Elena looked around at her crew. She could see the fear and anger in their eyes. Humanity was being judged and found guilty based on their potential for causing trouble, not anything they had actually done to alien civilizations. I need to report this to Earth, Elena said. Our leaders will want to discuss this situation. You may communicate with your homeworld until the containment barrier is activated. After that time, no signals will enter or leave your solar system. The transmission suddenly changed tone, becoming more formal. Commander Vasquez, this communication will now conclude. The Collective Council has spoken. You have been warned. The harmonious signals faded, leaving only static. Elena stared at the silent screen, her mind racing. Humanity had finally made contact with alien life, and it had gone worse than anyone had imagined. Get me a direct line to Earth Command, she ordered. Priority Alpha communication. We need to warn everyone. As her crew rushed to establish the connection, Elena looked out the station's viewport at the stars. Somewhere out there, advanced alien civilizations had decided that humanity was too dangerous to be allowed freedom. In less than 24 hours, the human race might find itself trapped in their own solar system, cut off from the galaxy they had just begun to explore. The age of human space exploration was about to end before it had truly begun. The barrier appeared exactly 24 hours after the Collective's warning, just as they had promised. Admiral Marcus Torres watched from the bridge of the EDS Defiance as space itself seemed to shimmer and solidify at the edge of the solar system. What are our sensors showing? He asked Captain Williams, his tactical officer. It's impossible, sir, Williams replied, shaking his head. There's nothing there we can detect. But our probe just stopped. It's sitting there in space, engines running, but it can't move forward. Admiral Torres had commanded Earth's defense forces for 15 years, but nothing had prepared him for this. In the 4 days since Commander Vasquez's warning, Earth had mobilized every available ship. Military vessels, research ships, even converted cargo haulers had rushed to the edge of the solar system, hoping to break through whatever the aliens were building. They had all failed. Try the particle beam again, Torres ordered. The ship's main weapon charged up and fired a concentrated beam of energy at the invisible barrier. The beam simply vanished as if it had never existed. No effect, Admiral. Same as the nuclear missiles, the plasma torpedoes, and everything else we've tried. Torres rubbed his temples, feeling a headache building. Behind them, Earth's entire space fleet was spread out in a defensive formation. Thousands of ships representing humanity's greatest technological achievements, and none of them could even touch the alien barrier. Sir, called Lieutenant Park from the communications station. We're receiving a transmission from the Titan research colony. Torres turned toward the screen as it flickered to life. Dr. James Mitchell appeared, his face grim but determined. Admiral Torres, this is Dr. Mitchell reporting from Titan colony. We've had no contact with our stations beyond the barrier for 3 days now. Our long-range sensors show that the Proxima Centauri research base has gone completely dark. What about the colonists? Torres asked, though he feared the answer. We don't know. The last transmission we received was a distress signal, then nothing. Admiral, we need to know what happened to our people out there. Torres wished he had better news to give. Doctor, we're doing everything we can, but this barrier is beyond our current technology. We can't get through and we can't communicate past it. As if summoned by their conversation, another harmonic signal filled the bridge. The same alien voice that had spoken to Commander Vasquez now addressed the entire human fleet. Admiral Torres, this is High Resonator Cathara of the Zephyrian Collective. Your attempts to breach the containment barrier have been noted and are futile. Torres stepped forward, his jaw set with determination. This is Admiral Torres. I demand to know what you've done with our colonies and research stations. Your external settlements have been relocated to observation facilities. The beings you call colonists are unharmed and are being studied to better understand your species' behavioral patterns. Studied? Torres felt his anger rising. You've kidnapped thousands of innocent people. We have prevented a potential galactic crisis. Your colonists are providing valuable data about human adaptability and social structures. This information will help the collective determine the best long-term solution for your species. Dr. Chen, who had been transferred to the flagship after the crisis began, stepped beside Torres. High Resonator, I am Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's lead xenobiologist. May I ask what you hope to learn from studying our people? Dr. Chen, your scientific credentials are noted in our database. We are attempting to understand the source of human unpredictability. Your species makes decisions that defy logical analysis. This chaos-driven behavior is what makes you dangerous. Dangerous? Dr. Chen asked. Or creative? Our unpredictability has led to incredible scientific breakthroughs and artistic achievements. It has also led to countless wars and environmental destruction. Your species cannot maintain stable, peaceful societies for extended periods. This instability would spread to other civilizations if left unchecked. Torres had heard enough. You're judging us based on our past mistakes. Humanity has learned from those errors. We're working to become better. Your recent history suggests otherwise, Admiral. Even now, facing a superior force, your first instinct was to attack our barrier, rather than seek peaceful compliance. Because you've imprisoned our entire species. Torres shot back. What did you expect us to do? A rational species would have accepted the collective's superior wisdom and adapted to containment. Your aggressive response confirms our assessment. Dr. Chen tried a different approach. High Resonator. Every species must have made mistakes in their development. How did the members of your collective overcome their destructive tendencies? The Zephyrians evolved beyond individual conflict through harmonic resonance that creates perfect understanding between all members of our society. The Valorians achieved unity through collective consciousness. The Cortani transcended physical limitations and emotional instability. The Lithoid architects built perfect mathematical societies based on logical principles. But we're different from all of those species, Dr. Chen pointed out. Perhaps our path to development will be different too. Your difference is precisely the problem, Dr. Chen. The galaxy has achieved stability through predictable, rational civilizations. Your chaos-driven nature threatens this balance. Over the following weeks, the human fleet maintained its position at the barrier, trying every possible method to break through. Scientists worked around the clock, analyzing the barrier's properties and searching for weaknesses. Military strategists developed elaborate plans for coordinated attacks. Engineers built new weapons and devices specifically designed to counter alien technology. Nothing worked. The barrier adapted to every approach they tried. When they used electromagnetic pulses, the barrier became immune to electromagnetic interference. When they attempted to tunnel underneath it using quantum mechanics, the barrier extended into quantum dimensions. It was as if the barrier was learning from their attacks and evolving defenses. It's like fighting our own reflection, Dr. Chen explained to Admiral Torres during one of their strategy meetings. Every weapon we develop, every technique we try, the barrier develops a countermeasure. It's studying us just as much as we're studying it. Meanwhile, reports began filtering in from Earth about the psychological impact of the quarantine. Knowing that humanity was trapped in their own solar system, cut off from the galaxy they had just begun to explore, was devastating to human morale. Protests erupted in major cities. Some religious groups declared it was divine punishment for humanity's sins. Others called for immediate surrender to the collective's demands, but there were also signs of hope. Human ingenuity had always thrived under pressure, and the quarantine sparked an incredible wave of scientific innovation. Research teams around the world worked together like never before, sharing information and resources without regard for national boundaries or corporate interests. Dr. Chen's team made the most significant breakthrough 3 months into the quarantine. While studying fragments of alien technology that had been inadvertently left behind when the barrier was constructed, they discovered something remarkable about the collective's thinking patterns. "Admiral," Dr. Chen said excitedly as she burst into his ready room, "I think I've figured out why they see us as so dangerous." Torres looked up from his reports. "What did you find?" "The alien technology operates on perfect mathematical principles. Every decision, every action, follows logical patterns that can be predicted and analyzed. But human behavior doesn't follow those patterns. We make decisions based on emotions, intuition, and creativity that their mathematical models can't account for. So they're afraid of us because we're unpredictable? More than that. Their entire civilization is built on the idea that rational, logical behavior is superior to chaotic, emotional behavior. Our existence challenges that fundamental belief. If humans can be successful while being unpredictable and emotional, it suggests that their perfect mathematical societies might not be as superior as they believe." Torres leaned back in his chair, considering the implications. "So this isn't really about protecting the galaxy from us. It's about protecting their worldview." "Exactly. And, Admiral, that gives us something we didn't have before: hope. If their strength comes from predictability and logic, then our unpredictability might be the key to defeating them." Torres smiled for the first time in months. "Then we need to be more unpredictable than they can possibly imagine." As the months passed, Torres began developing what he called Project Prometheus. Unlike previous attempts to break the barrier through force, this plan would use humanity's greatest strength: their ability to think outside the box and adapt to impossible situations. But they would need time to prepare, and they would need a reason for the collective to let them out of their cage. Torres didn't know it yet, but that reason was already approaching from the darkness between galaxies, bringing with it a threat that would test every species in the known universe. High resonator Kithara felt the disturbance in the harmonic field before the sensors detected anything unusual. The crystalline being's body vibrated with frequencies of deep concern as data flowed through the collective's vast communication network. "Report status of outer perimeter sensors," Kithara commanded, their voice creating ripples of sound that translated automatically for the various species in the command. "Center.Valorian drone cluster," VX7742 responded with rapid clicking, sounds that formed words. "Sensors detect massive gravitational anomaly approaching from intergalactic space. Object dimensions exceed calculation parameters. Estimated mass equivalent to 17 solar systems." A Cortani energy being shimmering with worry added their analysis. "The object appears to be artificial in nature. Energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. It is consuming everything in its path." Kithara's crystalline form darkened with concern. In the 4 years since they had quarantined the humans, the galaxy had been peaceful. The collective's member species had continued their orderly expansion and scientific advancement. The humans remained contained within their solar system, occasionally testing the barrier but otherwise behaving predictably. This new threat was something entirely different. "Display visual data," Kithara ordered. The main holographic display showed a view of space that made even the ancient lithoid architects express amazement through their mathematical communication system. Where there should have been stars and planets, there was only a growing void of absolute darkness. But it wasn't empty darkness. As they watched, the void pulsed with geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. "What is it doing to the consumed matter?" asked Cortani Prime Consciousness Zela. "Unknown," replied the Valorian cluster. "Matter enters the object and does not emerge. However, the object's mass increases beyond the mass of consumed material. It appears to be converting matter into something else entirely. A lithoid architect, ancient beyond measure, projected mathematical equations into the air. The formulas showed calculations that made no sense. The entity violates fundamental conservation laws. It creates more energy than it consumes. This should be impossible." Kithara felt harmony waves of fear spreading through the collective network. For millions of years, their combined civilizations had believed they understood the basic rules of the universe. This approaching entity seemed to break those rules completely. Estimated time until it reaches collective territory? Cathara asked. At current speed, approximately 200 rotations, the Valorian cluster calculated. However, the entity's velocity is increasing as it consumes more matter. Recommendations for defense? The command center fell silent. The collective had never faced a threat like this before. Their weapons were designed to fight other rational civilizations with predictable technology. They had no experience with something that appeared to defy the laws of physics. Finally, Cortani Prime Consciousness Zella spoke. We should attempt communication. Perhaps the entity can be reasoned with. Agreed, Cathara responded. Prepare a standard first contact protocol. The collective's most advanced communication array transmitted greetings in 17 different formats, from mathematical sequences to harmonic frequencies to pure energy patterns. They offered friendship, trade agreements, and mutual non-aggression pacts. The entity's response was immediate and terrifying. The communication array simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not damaged. It was there one moment and gone the next as if it had never been built. Worse, the space where it had been was now twisted into impossible geometric shapes that made the sensors malfunction just by observing them. It consumed our communication without approaching it, the lithoid architect calculated with mechanical precision. This suggests the entity can manipulate matter across vast distances. Cathara's harmonic field fluctuated with something approaching panic. Begin immediate evacuation of the outer colonies. All collective forces are to establish defensive positions around core worlds. Over the following weeks, the collective watched in horror as the entity, which they began calling the Devourer, systematically consumed the outer rim of their territory. Entire star systems vanished into the growing void. Ancient civilizations that had existed for millions of years were erased in hours. The collective's most powerful weapons proved useless. When they fired the reality anchor, a planet-sized device that could stabilize space-time across entire sectors, the Devourer simply absorbed the weapon and added its mass to its own growing.
Bulk! The entity learns from each attack,
reported Valorian Cluster VX7742. Our quantum torpedoes now pass harmlessly through its outer shell. Our energy weapons are absorbed and converted into material that strengthens its defenses. Dr. Yael, a member of a species that had joined the collective only recently, offered a disturbing analysis. What if this entity isn't from our galaxy? What if it consumed an entire galaxy before coming here? The thought sent waves of terror through the collective network. If the Devourer had already destroyed one galaxy, then their own might be doomed. Cathara convened an emergency session of the Collective Council, bringing together representatives from all member species. The meeting took place in the most secure location in their territory, the ancient lithoid homeworld, protected by mathematical shields that had stood for 10 million years. We face extinction, Cathara announced without harmony or ceremony. Our greatest weapons are useless. Our most advanced defenses have failed. We need new strategies. The Valorian hive mind spoke through 1,000 voices in perfect unison. Our analysis suggests the entity operates on principles we do not understand. It processes reality itself as computational data. A Cortani representative, their energy form flickering with distress, added, "We attempted to interface directly with the entity's consciousness. The contact burned out our strongest minds. It thinks in patterns that our neural structures cannot process." The lithoid architect's mathematical projection showed probability calculations. Based on current consumption rates, the entity will reach our core worlds in 43 rotations. No defensive strategy has proven effective. Extinction probability 94.7%. The council chamber fell silent. For the first time in collective history, their combined wisdom had no solution to offer. Finally, a young Zephyrian scientist named Veltar spoke up. "High Resonator, what about the humans?" Cathara's harmonic field stilled. The contained species? They are irrelevant to this crisis. But they are the only species in our database that thinks in chaotic, unpredictable patterns. The entity defeats us because it can predict our logical responses. Perhaps chaos is needed to fight chaos. An older collective member resonated with disapproval. The humans are a contained threat. Releasing them would only add to our problems. With respect, Veltar continued, we are facing extinction. The humans cannot make our situation worse. The lithoid architect's calculations began updating rapidly. Interesting hypothesis. Human behavioral patterns show 73.2% unpredictability factor. This exceeds any known species. If the entity operates on logical prediction algorithms, human chaos might create computational exceptions. Kethara considered the proposal carefully. Everything in their nature rebelled against the idea of releasing humanity. The humans were unpredictable, chaotic, and dangerous. But perhaps those same qualities could be exactly what they needed. What specific capabilities do the humans possess that we lack? Kethara asked. Veltar projected data from their human observation files. They make decisions based on emotion rather than logic. They adapt to impossible situations by abandoning established rules. Most importantly, they have a documented history of defeating superior forces through unorthodox tactics. They also have a tendency toward self-sacrifice for abstract concepts, added the lithoid architect. This behavior pattern is completely illogical, but has proven effective in their historical conflicts. The Cortani representative pulsed with reluctant agreement. Our studies show that humans often perform best when facing extinction-level threats. Their stress responses actually increase their creative problem-solving abilities. Kethara felt the harmony of the collective shifting. The logical conclusion was clear, even if it went against everything they believed about galactic order. If we release the humans, can we control them? Unknown, admitted Veltar. Control is antithetical to their nature. But perhaps we do not need to control them. Perhaps we need to unleash them. The vote was close, but desperation won over caution. For the first time in collective history, they would deliberately choose chaos over order. Kethara authorized the transmission that would change everything. Prepare to lower the containment barrier around the human solar system. Send a message to Admiral Torres. As the message was prepared, long-range sensors detected the Devourer's approach to the outer edge of the Sol system. The entity had noticed the unusual barrier around the human solar system and was moving to investigate. Humanity was about to be freed from their cage, but they would emerge into a galaxy that was dying. Whether they would be humanity's salvation or just another species to be consumed remained to be seen. Admiral Torres was reviewing the latest test results from Dr. Chen's team when the communication alert sounded throughout the EDS Defiance. After 4 years of silence from beyond the barrier, the familiar harmonic tones of the Zephyrian collective filled the bridge. Admiral Torres, this is High Resonator Kethara of the Zephyrian collective. We require immediate communication. Torres exchanged glances with Dr. Chen, who had been working on the bridge when the transmission arrived. Something in the alien's tone was different. The cold, superior confidence was gone, replaced by something that sounded almost like desperation. This is Admiral Torres. I'm listening. Admiral, the collective faces an extinction-level threat. A hostile entity of unknown origin is consuming our territory. Our defenses have proven inadequate. We require human assistance. The bridge fell silent. After 4 years of imprisonment, the aliens were asking for help. You're asking the species you called a galactic threat to help save the galaxy? Torres asked, unable to keep the irony out of his voice. The situation has changed, Admiral. The entity approaching our territory operates outside logical parameters. Our analysis suggests that human unpredictability may be the only effective counter to its capabilities. Dr. Chen stepped forward. High Resonator, what exactly is this entity? Dr. Chen, we have designated it the Devourer. It appears to be an artificial intelligence of immense size and power. It consumes matter and converts it into computational substrate for unknown purposes. More concerning, it seems to learn and adapt from every attack we make against it. Show us, Torres demanded. The main display flickered, then showed images that made the entire bridge crew gasp. Vast areas of space were simply gone, replaced by twisted geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. Where star systems should have been, there was only an expanding void of absolute darkness. My God, whispered Lieutenant Davis. How big is it? Current estimates suggest it has consumed the equivalent of 23 solar systems. Its mass continues to increase beyond the matter it consumes, suggesting it converts normal matter into exotic materials that serve its computational needs. Dr. Chen studied the data flowing across her screen. The geometric patterns? They're not random. There's a mathematical structure to them. It's like the entity is turning reality itself into some kind of computer. That is our assessment as well, Keithara replied. Dr. Chen, our greatest scientific minds have been unable to develop effective countermeasures. The entity predicts and neutralizes every logical attack strategy. Torres felt a grim satisfaction. So now you want the chaotic, unpredictable humans to save your ordered galaxy? Yes, Admiral. The survival of all sentient life may depend on it. Torres looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. He could see the same thoughts in their eyes that were running through his mind. This could be a trap. It could be a test. But if it was real, then the entire galaxy was facing extinction. What about our people? Torres asked. The colonists you kidnapped and put in observation facilities. They will be released immediately and returned to your custody. All collective forces will withdraw from human territory. Your species will be granted full member status in the collective if you assist us in this crisis. Dr. Chen looked at Torres with excitement in her eyes. Admiral, this could be exactly what we've been preparing for. Project Prometheus was designed to use our unpredictability as a weapon. Torres nodded. High Resonator will need complete technical data on this entity. Everything you know about its capabilities, behavior patterns, and weaknesses. All data will be transmitted immediately. Admiral, there is one more critical factor. Our sensors indicate the entity has detected your solar system barrier and is approaching to investigate. You may face direct contact within the next rotation. Torres felt his blood run cold. It's coming here? Yes. The unusual nature of your containment barrier appears to have attracted its attention. This may actually be advantageous. You will be the first to encounter it with full knowledge of its capabilities. Dr. Chen was already analyzing the incoming data streams. Admiral, look at this. The entity's attack patterns are completely logical and predictable. It follows optimal efficiency algorithms for matter consumption. But there are gaps in its behavioral matrix, places where unpredictable input might cause system errors. Torres activated the ship-wide communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Torres. Recall all personnel to battle stations. We have a new mission that's bigger than anything we've ever faced. Over the next several hours, as the collective's data poured in, the scope of the threat became clear. The Devourer wasn't just another weapon or another species. It was something that had consumed an entire galaxy before coming to theirs. It represented the complete end of biological life as they knew it. But the data also revealed something else. The entity's greatest strength, its logical, efficient approach to consumption, might also be its weakness. It's like a cosmic computer virus, Dr. Chen explained to the assembled fleet commanders. It converts everything into computational data, but it can only process information that follows logical patterns. If we could introduce paradoxes or impossible scenarios into its processing matrix, we could crash it, Torres finished. Like overloading a computer with unsolvable problems. Captain Morrison of the light cruiser Challenger raised her hand. What kind of paradoxes are we talking about, Doctor? Anything that defies logical analysis. Human art, music, poetry, irrational mathematical concepts. The entity would try to process these as logical data, but human creativity doesn't follow logical rules. Torres began to see the shape of their strategy. We don't fight it with weapons. We fight it with humanity itself. The plan that emerged was unlike anything in military history. Instead of preparing for traditional combat, the human fleet began loading their computers with the most chaotic, unpredictable data they could find. Art galleries from Earth, musical compositions, poetry, philosophy, mathematical paradoxes, the complete works of human literature and culture. The idea is to make ourselves toxic to its consumption process, Dr. Chen explained. When it tries to analyze and convert human data, the contradictions and paradoxes should create processing errors. But Torres knew they needed more than just data. They needed human creativity and action. All ships are to prepare for unconventional warfare, he announced. Forget everything you know about military tactics. We're going to approach this like humans, not like logical military machines. As the fleet prepared, sensors detected the first signs of the Devourer's approach. Space at the edge of the solar system began to shimmer and distort. The entity was probing the barrier, trying to understand its nature. The barrier is holding, reported Lieutenant Davis, but it's fluctuating. Whatever this thing is doing, it's affecting the alien containment field. Good, Torres said grimly. Let it come to us. We'll give it something it's never encountered before. Pure human chaos. Cathara's voice filled the bridge one more time. Admiral Torres, the barrier is failing. The entity will reach your position within hours. Are you prepared? Torres looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. He saw fear, yes, but also determination, and a uniquely human willingness to face impossible odds. High Resonator, we've been preparing for this moment for 4 years. It's time to show this entity what happens when it tries to consume humanity. Admiral, Cathara said quietly, the collective owes you an apology. We called your species threatening because we feared what we did not understand. Now we understand that sometimes the greatest threats require the most unpredictable solutions. Just make sure you remember that after this is over, Torres replied. As the containment barrier finally collapsed, humanity emerged into a galaxy at war, but they emerged as themselves, chaotic, unpredictable, and absolutely determined to protect not just their own species, but all life in the galaxy. The real battle was about to begin. The Devourer filled the view screen like a living nightmare. What had once been empty space was now occupied by a structure so massive and alien that human minds struggled to comprehend it. Geometric patterns shifted and flowed across its surface, creating optical illusions that made experienced pilots feel dizzy just by looking at them. Admiral Torres stood on the bridge of the EDS Defiance, watching as his fleet spread out in formations that would have made military tacticians weep. There was no order to their arrangement, no logical pattern. Ships moved seemingly at random, some flying in spirals, others in figure eights, a few simply spinning as they advanced. Admiral, called Dr. Chen from her station, the entity is scanning our fleet. Its probe signals are trying to analyze our formation patterns. Good, Torres replied with a grim smile. Let it try to figure out what we're doing. Hell, I don't even know what we're doing, and I'm in command. Captain Morrison's voice crackled over the communication system from her fighter squadron. Admiral, this is Banshee Leader. We're picking up some kind of computational field around the entity. It's like it's trying to process everything it sees. Perfect. All ships begin Operation Chaos Theory. Upload cultural data packages and start playing music on all frequencies. What happened next had never occurred in the history of galactic warfare. The human fleet began broadcasting everything that made humanity unique. Beethoven's symphonies mixed with death metal, Shakespeare's sonnets transmitted alongside children's nursery rhymes. Paintings by Picasso were converted to data streams and sent directly at the Devourer's computational matrix. The effect was immediate and startling. The geometric patterns on the Devourer's surface began to flicker and distort. Parts of its structure seemed to freeze in place while other sections moved erratically. It's working, Dr. Chen called out excitedly. The entity's processing matrix is struggling to categorize our data. Human art doesn't follow logical patterns that it can analyze. But the Devourer quickly adapted. Sections of its structure began filtering out the chaotic data, ignoring the music and art while focusing on the ships themselves. Phase 2, Torres commanded. All pilots engage in completely unpredictable flight patterns. Don't follow any tactical doctrine. Fly like humans, not like computers. Captain Morrison's fighter squadron broke formation and began what could only be described as aerial ballet. Pilots performed loops, rolls, and maneuvers that served no tactical purpose, but looked beautiful against the star field. Other ships began playing tag, chasing each other through space in patterns that defied military logic. The Devourer's scanning beams followed the ships, trying to predict their movements and failing completely. Its computational matrix was designed to analyze logical behavior patterns. But there was nothing logical about human creativity in action. Commander Yuki Tanaka, leading the engineering squadron, took the chaos to a new level. Her team began feeding the Devourer recursive mathematical problems, equations that had no solutions but would force the entity to keep calculating forever. We're uploading paradox algorithms now, Tanaka reported. Questions like, can an omnipotent being create a rock too heavy for them to lift? And what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? The results were spectacular. Entire sections of the Devourer began to slow down as its processing power became trapped in infinite loops, trying to solve unsolvable problems. But the entity was learning. It began to segment its consciousness, isolating infected areas while other sections continued to function normally. Worse, it started to adapt to human unpredictability, developing new algorithms specifically designed to process chaotic data. "Admiral?" Dr. Chen called out with worry in her voice. "It's getting better at handling our attacks. Its adaptation rate is incredible." Torres watched as the Devourer's surface patterns stabilized again. The entity was beginning to consume the chaotic data and convert it into something it could understand. They were running out of time. "Dr. Chen, what's the one thing about humanity that can't be converted into data or algorithms?" Chen thought for a moment, then her eyes widened with understanding. "Consciousness. Human consciousness itself. The way we experience reality subjectively, emotionally, irrationally." "Then that's what we give it," Torres said quietly. He activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All ships, this is Admiral Torres. I need volunteers for a one-way mission. We're going to let the Devourer consume human consciousness directly." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Every ship in the fleet volunteered. "Commander Vasquez," Torres said, looking at Elena, who had transferred to his flagship, "prepare the consciousness transfer protocol that Dr. Chen's team developed." Elena nodded grimly. They had been working on the theoretical possibility of uploading human consciousness into alien computer systems, originally as a way to communicate with the collective. Now it would serve a very different purpose. "Admiral," Elena said, "if we upload human consciousness into that thing, there's no guarantee we can retrieve it. Anyone who volunteers for this mission is essentially volunteering to die." "I understand," Torres replied. "But if we don't try, everyone dies anyway." Elena strapped herself into the consciousness transfer chair. "I'll go first. My experience with first contact makes me the logical choice." "Elena, wait," Dr. Chen called out. "We need to maximize the chaos factor. The entity will expect logical, organized thoughts. We need to upload the most unpredictable human consciousness we can find." Elena smiled. "Doctor, I've been dealing with impossible alien situations for 4 years. Trust me, my thought patterns are anything but logical right now." The transfer began, and Elena's consciousness was digitized and fired directly into the Devourer's computational matrix. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entire entity shuddered. Through the connection, Elena experienced something beyond description. She was inside a cosmic computer that was trying to process the sum total of her human experience. Every emotion, every memory, every contradiction and paradox that made her uniquely human. The Devourer's consciousness was vast and cold, operating on principles of pure logic and efficiency. But Elena's human mind was like a virus in its system, introducing concepts that couldn't be quantified or processed. Love, hope, the beauty of a sunset, the feeling of laughter, the inexplicable human ability to find meaning in chaos. The entity tried desperately to convert these experiences into logical data, but they existed outside logic entirely. More volunteers followed. Captain Morrison uploaded her consciousness while performing a barrel roll through the entity's energy field. Commander Tanaka transmitted her thoughts while solving an impossible engineering problem through pure intuition. Pilot after pilot sacrificed themselves, each adding their unique human perspective to the growing chaos inside the Devourer's mind. The effect was catastrophic for the entity. Its processing matrix began to fragment as it tried to understand human consciousness. How could beings make decisions based on feelings that served no logical purpose? How could they find beauty in imperfection? How could they hope for impossible things and somehow make them happen? "Admiral," Dr. Chen reported with amazement, "the entity's core processes are shutting down. It's experiencing what we might call an existential crisis." Torres watched as the massive structure began to convulse and fold in on itself. The geometric patterns on its surface were becoming more and more chaotic, reflecting the human consciousness it had consumed. "All remaining ships, transmit everything we have. Every piece of human culture, every song, every story, every dream we've ever had. Give it the full human experience." The Devourer's death throes were spectacular. As it tried to process the complete chaos of human existence, its rigid logical structure collapsed. The entity that had consumed an entire galaxy was defeated not by weapons or superior technology, but by the simple, inexplicable fact of human consciousness. In its final moments, the Devourer transmitted a single message across all frequencies, not in words but in pure emotion. It was confusion, wonder, and something that might have been gratitude. For the first time in its existence, the entity had experienced something beyond logic. It had touched the chaotic beauty of human consciousness and found it magnificent. As the entity collapsed into itself and vanished, the human fleet found themselves alone in space, surrounded by the slowly returning ships of the collective fleet. High resonator Cathara's voice filled the communication channels, but it was different now. Warmer, more emotional. Admiral Torres, the collective owes humanity a debt that can never be repaid. You have saved not just our civilizations, but the concept of life itself. Torres looked around his bridge at the surviving crew members. Many of their friends had sacrificed themselves to save the galaxy, uploading their consciousness into an alien entity to create the chaos needed to defeat it. High Resonator, Torres said quietly. We didn't do this alone. Your people made it possible by admitting you were wrong about us. Sometimes the things that make us different are exactly what make us valuable. Indeed, Admiral. The collective has learned that order and chaos are both necessary for